I learned this week that over the course of a year in the United States of America, 200,000 or so children would be placed in foster care. Some years more, some years less, of course. 200,000 kids. 20 to 25,000 of them will age out of the system. 12:01 a.m. on their 18th birthday in most states. Not all, but in most states. 25,000 young adults who have possibly been moved from home to home, different foster care situations, sometimes in group homes, sometimes in families, sometimes in multiple families over the years, depending on the situation. And then we just push them out. The system just pushes them out. And this was the basis of a conversation that began with Kathy and with Barbara and this wonderful program at First Unitarian called ILYA. And it's a support for that moment, or the moments following, for these young folks who have perhaps had a very disrupted childhood, to help them move to the next phase of life. I have learned so much in the last few weeks, and the last year or so since we've started talking about this. And so I'm so delighted today to have Mayda and Dion come and share with us some of their story, and to let us know, I don't know, what that feels like to be. So I invite Mayda and Dion to join me up here. Let's see here. And we'll, there's some water. Well, welcome to you both, and thank you for joining us here at Mill Creek for this conversation. I'd like to start, I do these sort of things occasionally, and I like to start with sort of an odd question, but it seems, this is a congregation who comes here from various religious traditions, and spiritual ideas and things like that. So I actually just want to start with, for each of you, what was the spiritual or religious background of your childhood, if there was one at all? Mayda.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. For me, before I entered foster care, my family practiced Catholic, so we were at a Catholic church. And then when I came into foster care, my first foster parent was heavily involved in their church, which, if I'm not mistaken, was a Bible church. I'm not really too sure what the big differences are with a lot of them. But then I went there for pretty much all of my time in foster care, and then I just actually returned about a month ago now to that same church where I went to while I was in foster care.
Fabulous, fabulous. Dion?
My voice is deep, so I'm kind of nervous to talk. But can you all hear me?
Yeah.
You can all hear me? Okay, good. My experience with my religious experience growing up was on and off a lot. In the beginning, I didn't have one growing up. It's just not something we talked about. Then out of the few homes I went into, got introduced slowly, and then I was able to start making my own conclusions about where I wanted to go and where I wanted to take this journey. And we'll get into some of it later. But there was good and bad with everything in life. It was good and bad experiences. But the one thing I was able to get from all of it was my unbreakable faith that I do have. So I thank all those experiences for that.
Awesome. Thank you. So I want to get eventually to the point where we're talking about where this age out, which I have issues with that term, but I understand that. But could you share just briefly, like, the circumstances into which you first entered foster care, and sort of like how long you were in that system and how that sort of worked, Dion? And we'll start with you.
I was in foster care. I was in foster care 2 different times. So at first, I went to foster care straight from birth until the age of 5. Reason being is because I was born addicted to crack. So clearly, the people weren't going to allow me to leave the hospital. Then my mother got herself together, was able to get me back when I was 5. Then I was with her until the age of 9, where I got taken again, and was in there till 18. So I spent 13 and a half years out of the possible 18 in foster care. Multiple different homes, different personalities, way to grow up. And it's different than, every experience is different. So you can't just say, 2 kids in foster care. They know exactly, it's completely different for each and every child. But that was how I got into the system.
For me, it's a little different. As they mentioned in my bio earlier, I actually ran away from my home when I was 15. I had just turned 15 in October, and this happened in March of the following year. And I did that because I was very mature for a 15-year-old, and at the time, I kind of knew that what I was experiencing wasn't necessarily what I was supposed to be experiencing as a young adult, and I was like, I kind of said to myself, why am I somewhere where I'm not really wanted by my parents? Mainly my mom, because my dad lived in Puerto Rico at the time. And so I kind of just made that decision. I was just like, I know there's got to be someone out there that's going to love me, care for me, support me, and whatever I want to try, and I wasn't getting that at my home. And so I made that decision, and I kind of just walked out the house and was like, well, let's see what happens from here. And so DFS had already been involved in my situation because I was very, very open and close with my teachers at school, pretty much everyone, all the guidance counselors, the staff, administration, everyone knew. Because I felt like when I was at home, I was silenced. So when I went to school, it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, I have an opportunity to talk. And nobody was dismissing me. So it kind of became like my outlet at school, and I would constantly tell everyone what was going on. And so, like I said, DFS was already involved. So when I ran away, it kind of wasn't a surprise. It was bound to happen. We just didn't know when. So then the very next day, I ended up going to school like normal. And then that very night, I was at the DFS office probably for like 2 or 3 hours waiting for them to find me a home. And then around 8 o'clock, they took me to my foster home. And that was the beginning of a journey. And I was in foster care until I aged out, so from 15 until 18 when I graduated high school. And I was in about 4 different homes, so pretty much a new one every year.
Wow. So let's talk about this idea of aging out. And I'm curious as to how, in my mind, when this was described to me, it really felt like pushing somebody off a cliff. It's this sort of image. I'm like, holy cow, how would we do that? But I wasn't there. And so I'm curious as to what that was for you, like the circumstances, what happened next, and like what was going on in your heart, in your mind at the time.
Okay.
You want to start?
So for me, like I said, I aged out when I was 18, technically graduating high school. So I was one of those advocates or I should say just youth in general that speaks up. And not a lot of youth have that voice to be able to speak up. So for me, I actually was able to get what's called a board extension, which unless you really know about it and speak up, you're probably not going to get it, because it's not one of those things that they just kind of like tell you. They kind of just tell you age out and that's it. But I was just like, well, I need something. Like I can't just age out, because when I turned 18, I think it was October of my senior year. So I literally had like maybe 8 months left before I went off to college. And I knew once I went off to college that I would be fine, that I would have housing and, food and basically a house, because I had on-campus housing. But they told me and they offered me the opportunity to get the board extension, which allowed me to technically age out when I graduated high school. So still, that wasn't enough because I still had all of summer to get through because I graduated June 1st. And so I was like, all right, well, what am I going to do for 3 months? I'm technically still, like, homeless. Like, I don't have nowhere to go. So luckily, the foster home I was staying at was kind enough to say, hey, it's okay. She could stay here for 3 months, even if it's, like, not through foster care or anything like that. Like, that's okay. It's only 3 months, and then I'll be willing to support her until she goes off to college. That didn't really last long. About a month after I graduated, I think it was literally like the weekend after my party and graduation, because I did it back to back, she kicked me out. And I was just like, oh, great. So me and my worker were scrambling, trying to find a place, because like, at this point, like, I technically wasn't in foster care. I wouldn't qualify for like those services or anything like that. So anywhere I went, they weren't going to essentially get any support as a person, as a like foster parent. So luckily we found someone who was willing to take me in for literally 2 months until I went off to college. And she was able to open her doors for me, and I moved in, and I didn't even unpack everything. I just left it how it was. I was like, well, I'm about to move to college in 2 months. Once I go to college, I'll have housing for 4 years. By then, I was kind of thinking ahead. I was like, 4 years later, I'll, hopefully be in a situation where I can get my own place and I don't have to necessarily worry about finding somewhere to stay. So mine was a little rocky when I got kicked out, but then once we found that place, I stayed there for 2 months, and then in August, I moved into college and kind of did my own thing.
Awesome.
I aged out, oh, wait, you already know my age, so okay. I aged out in 2008, and it was a little different compared to what it looks now. I was told, my birthday was July 1st, so luckily I was able to graduate high school first, but I was told that I had July 1st, I spent my birthday moving out. I had, by 12 p.m., I had to be out of the house. And at this time, even if the foster parent wanted to keep me, the state wouldn't allow it. And I wouldn't have been able to go back and live with them until I was post-foster care, post-board of the state for 2 years. But I've been blessed by making friendships throughout my childhood, especially high school. So the original plan was I was supposed to reconnect with my oldest brother, and I was going to go stay with him. Of course, I was excited, like, yes, finally, somebody from my family, because I didn't have too much interaction with them throughout my stay in foster care. So I'm like, yes, I finally get to go be with him. Fortunately, his wife wasn't too big of a fan of that. So I think I was there maybe 2-3 weeks, and it was just a little side comments here. Oh, our water bill's more expensive. I thought we had this left in the fridge, or we don't got no more juice. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna keep doing this. So I was able to, I had some really good friends, brothers that I've created, and me not wanting to be a burden to anybody, I didn't stay too long at one person's place. So I would stay here. I like Mayda stated, I just need to get to college. Once I got to college, a month and a half, I would have been good. But I was able to stay here and stay there. But it is as bad as it sounds, the aging out. It really, you're 18th, and if I didn't have any place to go, that's not on them. We would have got driven. I would have been asked where I wanted to go. Wish you the best, and good luck. And that was it.
Were any of you aware of this kind of threshold that was approaching?
No.
Did it sort of, you sort of indicated you understood you could get sort of an extension at least till you graduated.
Yeah, I knew a little bit because, like I said, so this, for me, I'm 23, so this all happened more recently. When I aged out, it was 2018, so things changed a little bit. I kind of knew what was going on, but at the same time, I didn't realize that, like, when that one lady kicked me out, that I was kind of, like, left on my own. That part I didn't realize because I thought she would let me stay there for 3 months. I was like, I just need a house for 3 months. That's it, 3 months. And so it kind of just all hit me. And I think she kicked me out. She told me on a Friday. She said I had to be out by Sunday. I said, okay, I'll be out Saturday. So we were able to scramble quickly, and I was just like, we'll just get out, So.
Yeah, mine was, so my birthday was July 1st. worker called me up. Hey, how you called me the night or day before. I thought he was calling, let me know, happy early birthday. It was not how the call went. Or the visit, stopped by. It was like, yeah, just wanted to let you know that we turn the big 18 tomorrow. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm excited, about to be grown, And he was like, yeah, so just wanted to let you know that I'll be here tomorrow to pick you up around noon. All right, okay, I'll celebrate my birthday or something. It's nice of him, very appreciative. And I'm like, so where are we going? He's like, well, you got to tell me. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not really picky either, so we can go anywhere we want. And he was like, no, that's you have to leave. You have to move out. And I said, and go where? And he was like, anywhere you want to go, I'll be able to drop you there, have your stuff. I wasn't really a fan of unpacking, so I didn't have too much to pack up. And I was like, all right. I reached out to my brother on a hope and a prayer. Like I said, he was able, oh yeah, not a problem, you can come. I was mad at the worker, even though he's only just doing his job. So I was like, I don't need your ride, I have my own ride. But he said, you gotta make sure you're out by 12. They really drilled that in. I'm not sure why, but he was parked outside waiting to make sure I was picked up by 12. And yeah, so I spent my 18th birthday.
So you both were, you're talking about making it through that summer.
Yes.
and then you both were in college, right?
Yes.
At Delaware.
Yes.
Delaware State. So that there was some support there, just kind of standard college thing. But what was maybe different about your experience than, say, when I went off to college and stayed in the dorms, went home on Christmas break and spring break and that sort of thing? What was that experience like for you?
In my first? Oh.
Yeah, in your
Okay.
first. Yeah.
For me, I don't even know what the right word is, to be honest, because every year was different in college. So when I went off to college, luckily there was which is how I knew I was going to be straight, but there was a program at the time. I don't think I ever got a real name. It was called Pilot Program for like 8 years, even after the first year. So there was a program called the Pilot Program, which, and I'm not sure if you were on that, but it was a program that allowed former foster youth to stay in the upperclassmen dorms at Del State, which were apartment style. And what that did was it allowed former foster youth to be able to have somewhere to stay over break without that fear of like, oh my gosh, I have to move out for Christmas break. Where am I going? At least if we didn't have nowhere to go, we still had somewhere to lay our heads every night and somewhere to cook and eat because all the dining restaurants would close on campus. So for me, like I said, when I knew that I was in that program, I said, once I go to college, I'll be okay. I'll have housing for 4 years. That program covered my housing, so all I had to worry about was tuition and, finding scholarships for that. But I remember almost every holiday, I'm pretty sure I was on campus until the very, very end when I finally was just doing my own thing. And even then, I wasn't really going anywhere for the holidays. I was kind of just doing my own thing. Like this past Thanksgiving, I was in Mexico. This past Christmas, I was in Puerto Rico. So I kind of just found things that I would enjoy because I knew I couldn't always go with family. But every year was different. There was times where I stayed on campus and times where I would go with a friend. But I tried to make my college experience as normal as possible, just doing the regular things that everyone else did, get involved, run for student leadership, have an organization, do community service. I just tried to make it as normal as possible.
Yeah.
When it came to the breaks, it didn't really hit me. Well, the first part of your question, the moving in part, that was an eye-opener for me because anything that could have went wrong. But usually when things go wrong, and you're there with your family, you're not really worried about it. Things are going to get taken care of. My brother was able to take me. He just dropped me off. But you see all your friends moving in or your peers, y'all not friends yet, but your peers, and just recording, setting up the dorm room, everybody's excited, multiple people there, and me just carrying my garbage bags up the of the dorm room. I did have my bed set, but so I was able to make up my bed set and stuff. But then you just kind of look at your side of the room, you look at your roommate's side of the room, it's completely different. But I threw myself, like Mayda just said, into school. So it really, honestly, it didn't hit me until those moments, those breaks. Where was I going to go for Thanksgiving break? Where was I going to go Christmas break? Of course, I said I had my friends, but in the back of your mind, you don't ever want to be a burden. You were made to feel that way the whole time. So now as you're adults, that's the time you want to go spend with your family, have your family. So, Dion, you can come, but it's more of we know you don't have nothing else to do, and you can come with. And I was like, I appreciate it. Eventually, of course, I had to accept. I didn't have a choice. We didn't have that at the time, the whole stay on campus opportunity. So it was always a toss-up. I just random, and I was able to stay here sometime and stay there, or I would tell people, like some of my friends, I'm about to go to such and such house, and then I'll come back in a few days. There was no such and such house. I just didn't want to stay there being a burden to them. So it was around those times, the breaks, the open houses, the homecomings, and stuff, like when all that normal activity and normal family events happened. That's when it hit the most, when I had special accomplishments. Starting after the sophomore year. When I had accomplishments and stuff, nobody really, family-wise, to call and say, hey, I did this, I get this, I got honor roll, and it's those moments where it really hit home.
So in this experience, right, you're interacting with all these social support kind of things, and both in foster care and then as you move out of it. And I guess I don't know what my real question is. It's like, what did you learn about people? You're describing, homecoming or parents' weekend or something like that. All these sort of moments that you're kind of outside of that space. What did you observe? What did you learn about people in those moments?
Well, growing up, it was borderline kind of dangerous to be vocal and speaking by that. I mean, within the homes or within the community, you talk to the wrong person, you don't have to worry about fighting. In the homes, you were to be seen and not heard. So the moment I stepped on a college campus and random strangers come to, hey, how you doing? I'm all, man, what are you talking to me for? You don't know me. Like, I was trained to walk with my head down, because you make eye contact growing up in the city. You make eye contact with the wrong people. It's a problem. It's an issue. So I'm walking around college campus, head down, not talking to nobody. I'm just so on edge, so on defense. And to other people, I was weird for acting like that, but to them, they were weird to me for coming. What are you saying hi to me for? I don't know you, right? Don't talk to me. So it took me a while to break that, and I found out that people, it's crazy to have to figure this out as a kid, because at 18, you're still a kid. It's crazy how strangers are willing to be more accepting and supportive and loving of you than the people who are deemed or tasked with supposed to be loving and protecting you. I found out that there are genuinely good people, and I had to make myself available to and be open to receive that. And it's hard, because our survival growing up, our defense mechanism growing up is, I trust me and myself. Everyone else so far has proven that you put your trust in them, you start to get we didn't come in, or I don't want to speak for Mayda, but want to come. We didn't come into foster care not wanting to, that whole not getting unpacked thing. That was a learned skill because you start to get comfortable. All right, this is starting to feel like home. Let me go ahead and open these drawers up they gave me. You come back, drawers are empty, stuff is in your bag, bags on the desk. Sometimes you don't even make it back to the home before you transition to a new home. As many times I transitioned to a new home from school or after a game, because I played sports in high school. So there's strangers that, hey, Dion, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm thinking they're fans. Oh, yeah, we're this way. Who's this way? Oh, yeah, you're just going to come with us. You're going to stay a week and just see how you like it. The whole time, it's my new family now. So it took a while, but I did come to find out that overall, there are people want to do well. It just, realistically, at that time, I had to figure out they wanted to do well as long as it didn't inconvenience them. Mm-hmm. And to learn your inconvenience or burden of somebody, it's hard to start asking for help and accepting help and letting people in. So
a lot of things he said, I feel the same way. I can't say my freshman year, I did stay to myself, because we would walk around campus and it was like everybody was friendly, and I'm like, I don't know y'all. Why is everyone talking? So my freshman year, especially too, because when I was a freshman, I was placed in the upperclassmen dormitory, and so I didn't get that freshman experience, which, of course, being able to have stable housing for 4 years has its pros and cons. Of course, the pros is you have your stable housing all 4 years, but then look at the cons, you don't get that freshman experience. I didn't meet a lot of my peers until my sophomore year, and even then I still didn't know a lot of them because they were still living in different dormitories versus freshmen who are placed in the freshman dormitory. Everybody knows everybody because you're all living there together. So I didn't get to experience that, and so it took a lot for me to even get to know my peers. I think the only peers I was really getting to know were the ones in my classes, and even then they were upperclassmen. I don't know why, but a lot of them were upperclassmen. So it was very difficult trying to make friends on campus and then finding friends that understood my situation, because what I found, what I learned throughout my college was that because I experienced foster care, people, especially in college and especially in high school, tended to kind of put an image on me, a reputation like, oh, she's going to be nothing, she was in foster care, whatever they say. And so then I experienced a lot of people, I don't want to use the word jealousy, but I experienced a lot of that's what it felt like. It felt like people were kind of just trying to be in my corner because I was doing so good for my age. I was doing so good for where I came from. And people would just kind of want to come around when I was doing good, but nobody really wanted to genuinely be there for me when I was down. Because there was those moments in college where I was down, but there was nobody to turn to. But then the moments where I was up, and let's say I just achieved something, everyone wanted to be there. And it was just like, okay, well, how do I find that balance of people that are genuinely supporting me and people that are, in a way, stabbing me in my back? Because I had a lot of that in college. I had a lot of people that wanted to be my friend because of my success, or wanted things that I had because of my success, and it turned into a lot of lost friendships and losing that trust in people. It was like, well, dang, can I trust this person to genuinely have my back, or are they just trying to be friends with me because I have X, Y, and Z going on? So that was the biggest thing that I was trying to figure out in college. Even to this day, I'm very limited with the friends I have in college. I'm currently in grad school. I graduate in May with my master's, and so it's been difficult trying to keep that circle of who's genuinely in my corner and who's just here to be here. It hasn't been easy, but I think as I've gotten older, I've been able to kind of distinguish that and keep those people that are genuinely there supporting me in my corner, and then getting rid of all the ones that necessarily aren't doing good, if that makes sense.
All right, I have 2 more questions. Are we all right? Good. I have 2 more questions. So much of this, your journeys really sort of evoke for me the question for me of what is home and how is that created? And you both have kind of moved into this path. So, Dion, you've got 3 kids now. And, I got to see them on Zoom. They're just gorgeous. Yeah, just a little bit about what for you right now, what is that image of home? What is your idea of home, and how's that created? I'll start
Okay.
with you.
I'm gonna rewind real quick just to college, because when I was living on campus, it was very hard to find that like stability in home. At least my freshman year. And I'll explain why actually. So my freshman year, I had a lot of roommate issues. They placed me with other former foster youth. I don't know why they did that, because what it felt like to us, it just felt like we were in college, but again in a foster home. Except this time around, there was no adult. It was just foster youth. And it was like we were all bickering. There was always drama. It was just a lot. And so when I actually moved my first year during freshman year, it would like so much had happened in that situation that like it was just like the only option for you right now is to like move. And so I moved into a different building. Everything was going good until probably like mid-sophomore year, and boom, roommate problems again. And this time, I had actually picked my roommate, but she also experienced foster care. And I was like, why did I do that, knowing that my first year I was placed with foster youth and it didn't work out? That didn't work out. She pretty much somehow I somehow ended up with all these housing charges. And they pretty much told me it's either you move off campus or you go to college court and face these charges. And I was like, what am I going to college court for? Like, I'm just here trying to get my education. And somehow I kept having roommate issues. And so, of course, that made it difficult to find my dormitory housing, like, home. It was difficult because every time it was just something new every day, to the point where, like, I was labeling my food in the fridge. And that's something that you would do in foster care. So why am I doing it in college? You know what I mean? Like, we're grown, but that wasn't necessarily the case. And so when they hit me with all those charges, I was like, well, my only option is to move off campus at this point, or I'm going to be faced with all these charges. And I'm not even 8, or I think I was like 19 at the time. I was just like, this is ridiculous. So I moved off campus into my own apartment, and I would say that was where I kind of found my home. I've been at my apartment for 2 years now, well, going on to 3. I moved in there in 2020. October of 2020, and it's been rewarding because I've been able to come home. I don't have to worry about somebody eating the food out the fridge or the dishes not where I wanted them. And when I was in college, there was this one situation where a dish wasn't put where it was supposed to be, and I went crazy looking for it. And I'm like, where is this dish? And it was because people were moving my stuff around, and so I say that all to say that now that I have my own apartment, I have my own peace. I have my own bed to come to every night. I have my own food, my own everything. And I think for me, my home was having my own stuff, everything, and not having to worry about things being in bags and you having to move back and forth. Like, I haven't moved in almost 3 years now. And like, my apartment looks like I've been living there for 10 years. It looks like 3 people live there because I've accumulated so much stuff now because I haven't moved. And so for me, that's definitely what home is, just having my own stuff, things that belong to Mayda and no one else.
Dion?
To piggyback off mine, I remember the first time when I was able to move into my own spot, the feeling knowing that I could unpack and not worry having to pack it back up, that was beautiful. But now as I'm a little older, I don't really place home as a place. It's not a place to me. I have my kids, my wife, my family, like my brothers. We can be out and I feel just as comfortable as I've been home. So to me, home for me is the people that make me feel safe. That was very big for me growing up. Safety was always, do I go down this block? Do I go around this corner? Is that going to be safe? I haven't had to question my safety in a very long time. And that is just like I feel I'm not around people who have me guessing where I'm standing with them, where I'm at with them. Flaws and all, everything that I've been through, they know, they accept it, because it's not always like that. And I've learned growing up, kids are mean, true, but it was actually, and I was shocked, the parents. I've heard parents tell them, and one way I kind of understand why they felt a certain way, but another way to say this about a child, I would have parents tell their kids, you need to find regular kids to be friends with. Dion's not regular. He can't. And I say in one way I understand, because if, say, something as simple as going to spend the night at a friend's house, well, for us in foster care, it's not that simple. Everybody in that house has to get a background check for us to go over there. If anybody's there that can't be around kids, either A, they got to leave for the weekend, or we can't go. And then people don't want to go through that hassle. Like, it's my business. If I got to go through all that for you, come over, don't be friends with Dion. Go find you some regular kids to be friends with. We're not doing that. That's too much. So I ain't get the whole sleepovers and birthday parties and stuff and I understand in one point, but there's no way now that I could ever make a child feel like that. It just couldn't. So home to me is the people that I can have around me that makes me not question my safety.
Wonderful. So my last question is my magic wand question. So envision you have a magic wand and can wave it and your one wish will come true. Now here's the sort of subtext to this. We have this group of people in front of us who maybe can make things come true, or at least participate in that. So my question is, if you have that one wish, that one magic wand piece, and it can be something small or grand, what would that be based on your whole life experience? What would you change? What can we change?
Back then, or even now, if there's one thing that I would love to see change, and definitely has been changing because of people like you all, is to us, especially when it came to aging out of foster care, a lot of us didn't have our necessities met, our needs, our basic needs met. We didn't even know, we didn't care about wants. It's not what we wanted. It wasn't, our luxuries wasn't even, I didn't even think about a luxury till I was getting my own job and start doing things like that. But just the basics, and I don't know how many here participate in it, and I could not let today end without me bringing it up. But those care packages that we've received, when I tell you that they are life-saving, and I mean literally life-saving, because there's times where there's no place to eat but you're hungry. Those care packages have those meals in it, that food in it. Something as basic as my care package having a calculator in it, because I needed a calculator for school. Something as basic as toiletries. You don't think about stuff like that because to some people, it's something that's just always there. And even bigger than the stuff that's actually in the care package, it's the thought of the care package. Now, some of you who are volunteers, y'all may have kids, and I know we can be frustrated. And it may seem like we don't care so hard. I'm trying to help you, and you're making it very difficult to get in contact with you. I can't reach you. I want you to understand that it's not personal. It's very strange for us to have that help. Even now, it's still hard for me to accept help just because I spent my whole life surviving like that. But the thought that you took the time out of your day when you don't have to, and you're able to try and make sure that if there's one less thing I have to worry about, you can do that. We have so much going on in our heads and our hearts and our mind all the time. So anything that can be taken off that list of worries is a blessing. Like, I don't think you would ever be able to understand. But those care packages saved me. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. The finals care package, the midterm care package, start of the semester. Like, I tell you, oh my gosh, yes, the birthday, the holiday care. Like, And just to feel that for a moment that I'm able, like my peers, and able to have somebody, oh, Dion, who sent you that? Miss Barbara's cookies are legendary on Dell State's campus. I mean, you got some of them more cookies? Oh, Miss Barbara bought you those cookies? Chill. I got some cookies. Relax. But just to be able to be involved or be able to share in that joy with the other, and I keep pulling air quotes, but normal, regular kids, that my magic wand would be, I would love for every kid to be able to experience the feeling of receiving that care package and the thought that goes behind it.
How am I supposed to follow that? I feel everything he said, especially with, like, I know Ms. Barbara and my packages would have a lot of snacks, and I was never the type to have snacks. I just never wanted to buy them. And then now my kitchen is, like, full of snacks, and so when friends come over, where you get these snacks from? My kitchen was always stocked with snacks. But I think for me, of course, the packages is a big one, but also, to the apartment assistance and just dormitory assistance in general. Because when I was living on campus, like, of course, Dell State provides some stuff. They don't provide toilet paper, and you don't realize you need to buy your own toilet paper until you're living, and you're like, wait, I don't have toilet paper, and you're supposed to ask the janitor, but it don't work like that. Not in the upperclassmen dorms. Like, freshmen, yeah, they probably provide everything, but when I was an upperclassman, I didn't have none of that. And even when I moved on to into my apartment, I spent in one day just trying to get things for the apartment that I thought I already had, but evidently didn't. Over $1,000 just trying to get necessities. And that was difficult in itself, because I was just like, oh my God, I have to restock all this myself. I have to buy my own laundry. Laundry, like, detergent and stuff like that. Yeah, my own toilet paper. I had to buy my own food. Like, I had to buy all this stuff on my own. And I was like, whoa, I was not expecting to spend over $1,000 just to be able to survive the first few days in my apartment. And so being able to assist with that, I know when I got my apartment package, it was a lifesaver. And now, I kid you not, Miss Barbara has gotten me so much Tide detergent that I can wash clothes for 3 years without ever having to buy more. Like, I just cleaned my whole apartment the other day, and there's like at least 5 bottles there, and I'm like, this is all Miss Barbara. So I never have to buy laundry detergent probably for another 10 years, because it's just me by myself. And so just little things like that I could have in my apartment and feel like I don't have to not have money and then not be able to buy. Because I kid you not, there was 1 month before I told her I needed that. There was a month where I wasn't able to wash clothes because I didn't have no laundry detergent, and I didn't have the money to buy for it. And so when I told her that I needed laundry detergent, ever since, every care package has laundry detergent. And so I was set straight, and that's been a life, that's helped tremendously, because now I can wash clothes and things of that nature. So just that support when youth are either aging out at 18, because even at 18, when I was moving into campus, I still needed a lot of stuff that I didn't have. So between aging out at 18 and then when when any foster youth finally gets their own place, that support is huge, really huge.
It has been an honor and a blessing, and my mic is done out, to have you here with us today. Thank